Yo, 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 what's up, all you burners, stoners, and potheads out there? This is Weedman 420 with the Weedman 420 Chronicles. How are all you vipers doing out there? Mrs. Weedman?
Mr. Weedman?
How the hell are you?
Doing all right.
All right, all right, all right.
Uh,
Hey, everybody out in the world. Hope you're smoking some big fat doinks while you're listening to the show. Hopefully everyone's doing great out there in the world today. Hopefully your cannabis is growing. If you're growing some home grow, hopefully you're getting some of the finest cannabis out there in the world right now. We love you all, and we're going to get this show underway. Mrs. Weeman, we had a great weekend. We went out to a show.
Yay.
We saw a concert at a venue. First
Live
time.
music.
Live music. First
in
time.
person.
First
with a
time.
crowd.
It was great.
It was great.
We saw Foxy Shazam.
And Robert Finley.
Yes. Robert Finley is a 67-year-old soul player, and him and his daughter up on stage jamming out. It was great. And then all of a sudden, we didn't know what to expect because I had never heard of this band, and they were fucking entertaining as hell.
Holy high energy.
Oh, great.
They were pretty fun.
Oh, yeah. The keyboardist was my favorite person. I mean, he was out in the crowd. They were holding his keyboard up and holding him while he was playing with the keyboard. The lead singer had so much energy. The horn player, the drummer, the guitarist, the bass
Oh my
player.
God, they were so fun.
Changed his mask like different like what would you call those?
He had masks on.
Yeah, but they were like over his
Like
head.
a full head
Yeah,
mask.
full head
I don't
mask.
know.
It was crazy.
Yeah, he was covered.
They were entertaining and high.
I don't know
energy.
where they got all that energy from.
It was so good.
It was crazy.
It was such a good
They were fun.
show. Yes, it was
Check
great.
them out.
It was great. Foxy Shazam and Robert Finley, great show. Thanks for us being back and going into concerts again. It's great. It felt awesome being around people and having some fun. So we are going to smoke. We are smoking GG4 today. There's the joint, Mrs. Weedman.
I'm firing it up.
Yep. And
All right.
GG4 is also known as Gorilla Glue, also known as the original glue, Gorilla Glue, or GG4. Is a slightly indica-dominant hybrid strain, 60 indica, 40% sativa. Created through crossing the infamous Chem Sister, Sour Dub, and Chocolate Diesel strains. The celebrity strain is a favorite of patients and breeders around the world for its super heavy effects and long-lasting high that will totally knock you flat out. The high comes on with a building effect, slowly filling your mind with a lifted euphoria and a light, creative energy. As your mind lifts higher and higher into happiness, an almost glue-like sense will kick in, leaving you mentally stuck in this blissful state without a care in the world. It's one of your faves, Mrs. Weedman, isn't it? This effect will soon spread throughout the rest of your body, leaving you hopelessly couch-locked and immovable for hours on end. With these hard-hitting effects and the super high THC level, Gorilla Glue is number 4 is often said to be the perfect for treating ADHD or ADD, bipolar, chronic pain, depression, chronic fatigue, insomnia, appetite loss, nausea, and migraines, or headaches. This bud has a spicy chemical chocolate flavor with a heavy diesel exhale that turns slightly sweet the more that you toke. The aroma follows the same profile, although with a heavy, peppery pungency to it too. Gorilla Glue 4 has small, round forest green nugs with a flurry of amber hairs and coating tiny amber-tainted white crystal trichomes that are dripping with sweat, sticky resin. Effects: body high, cerebral, energizing, euphoria, happy, uplifting. ADD, ADHD, bipolar disorder, chronic pain, depression, fatigue, insomnia loss, appetite, migraines, nausea, and stress were the symptoms it relieves. And this strain of GG4, when I got out when I was in Oklahoma, is about, let me see here. It is 20.78% total cannabinoids and has 2.25% terpenes. It's a very small box, and it was very hard to read. Sorry about that. But I'm going to hit this while Mrs. Weedman says hello.
Hello, hello. And that was a nice smoke. It is spicy. You could taste the peppery at the end. I like GG4, and I believe GG4 is one of those strains that makes me laugh until I cry. So I don't think I have anything very funny to tell tonight, so you probably won't experience my cry laughing, but it is a good strain. It definitely is a heavy hitter.
Very tasty. Very tasty. You ready to get the show started?
I'm ready.
Ready?
Yep.
All right. A good friend of the show, a good listener of the show, somebody who emails us probably once a week, sent me an email, and I'm going to read the email, not the whole thing, but some of it, and she asked if we would do some research, and I did. And Paula, out in Iowa, this one's for you. Here in Newton ISD, a 76-year-old woman bus driver who was told she wouldn't test positive in Iowa medical cannabis, she started using CBD for arthritis, which helped her greatly with driving. A 76-year-old bus driver, whew, man, that's amazing.
That's patience.
Yeah, patience and strength. Those buses aren't light. As someone who used to drive a school bus herself, it does take a lot of arm strength to power those buses around. Being 76-year-old, I give her homages for having the guts to even take this crazy school district. Well, they fired her. She's having to move out of her apartment because she's no longer can afford it because she can't get a job until she quits using CBD, which that is going to cause her arthritis to come back. So she asked me to do some investigation on if CBD is allowed at the workplace. And I probably read about 15 to 20 articles, and I found probably about 5. So stick with me on this. This might also help you in your workplace. So I picked different pieces out of this article, and we'll post them so you guys can read them on our post about the show. So let's talk about this one first. The ABCs of CBD for employers. An increasingly common series of questions employees have been asking of late relate to their employees' use of CBD. Will use of CBD products impair employees? If an employee or applicant tests positive on a drug test and blames seemingly in use of CBD, what should they do? Should it be permissible to allow use of CBD products in a zero-tolerance workplace? Let's talk a little bit about CBD versus THC. So we've talked about this many times on the show, but just to go through it one more time. Before driving into analysis of these and similar questions, it's important to get the same page regarding the substance. CBD is a chemical found in cannabis and is a close relative hemp. Pure CBD does not contain any THC, the psychoactive ingredient found in cannabis that produces a high. The most common CBD formulations start as an oil, but CBD is also sold as an extract, vaporized liquid, and oil-based capsules. I've also seen it in flour. CBD-infused beverages are properly the most common CBD product, but the use of CBD-based cosmetics and skincare products is surging in both retail stores and online. Currently, the only CBD product approved by the Food and Drug Administration is a prescription oil called Epidiolex, approved to treat 2 types of epilepsies, which we've talked about on the show. Aside from Epidiolex, state laws on the use of CBD vary. While CBD is being studied as a treatment for a wide range of conditions, including Parkinson's disease, schizophrenia, diabetes, multiple sclerosis, and anxiety, and arthritis, research supporting CBD benefits is still limited. However, the FDA recently announced hearings on the potential lawful use of CBD in cosmetics, food, and supplements, which we've talked about prior episodes. What's the difference between CBD and THC? The technical explanation regarding the difference between CBD and THC centers around the fact that all cannabinoids, both CBD and THC, interact with specific target cells in the body. We've talked about this, the CB1 and the CB2 receptors. CB1 receptors are found mainly in the brain and are important for learning, coordination, sleep, pain, brain development, and other functions. CB2 receptors are found mostly in the immune system. CBD has very little effect on both the CB1 and CB2 receptors. This is probably why it does not make people high and not mind-altering. In fact, it may even blunt some of the THC psychotropic effects. Most cannabis grown for recreational use is very low in CBD content and high in THC, as Medical News Today explained. CBD is an entirely different compound from THC, and its effects are very complex. It is not psychoactive, meaning it does not produce a high or change a person's state of mind. We've talked about this many times on the show, but I just wanted to go over it again as we all are trying to learn. CBD and impairment. While you should consult with your medical advisor or on specific situations, you generally should not be concerned about your workers becoming impaired from CBD use. A 2015 National Institute of Drug Abuse paper explained why CBD should not impair employees. Different cannabinoids can have very different biological effects. CBD, for example, does not make people high and is not intoxicating, and there is a reason to believe it may have a range of uses in medicine, including in the treatment of seizures and neurological disorders. However, that's not to say CBD will never present a problem for you. Much about the substance is still unknown. As stated in the 2015 National Institute of Health analysis, cannabis has over 500 chemicals in total, including 100 or so cannabinoids. So we will still be learning about this plant for years to come. A particular problem stems from the fact that your workers might not know exactly what else is in the CBD product they are using, which we've talked about. Most CBD products are sold as supplements and are not regulated by the FDA, meaning they could also use various other substances mixed in. For example, Is delta-9, which we know tetrahydrocannabinol, THC, the metabolite that makes one high, presents. What else could be added to the mix? A recent study of 84 CBD products bought online showed that more than a quarter of the products contain less CBD than labeled, but that THC was found in 18 products. Research published in the Journal of the American Medical Association revealed that 43% of CBD oils tested had more THC in them than labeled. We've talked about this before. So, positive drug test. This means that one of your workers or applicants might think they were staying on the right side of the law when using CBD product, but can inadvertently ingest substances that violate your valid drug policies. Barry Sample, the Director of Science and Technology for the drug testing laboratory Quest Diagnostics, recently observed that the government is not ensuring the level of THC remains low because CBD oil is not regulated in the United States. Therefore, he said, if somebody is using CBD oil that contains residual THC in it, they are very likely could test positive on a urine drug test, not because of the CBD itself, but because of the contaminant that is in the oil. While CBD itself would not report positive for cannabis or cannabis metabolite, if the CBD product used by your employee or applicant contains THC at a sufficient high concentration, it is possible, depending on the usage patterns, that the use of these products could cause a positive urine drug test result for cannabis metabolites. For example, in some states, CBD may contain up to 5% THC. So what should you do if an applicant or employee tests positive and claims they only use CBD? Unless an employee is using a sole FDA-approved medical product, Epidiolex, a confirmed positive for THC means that the employee has probably ingested THC, even though they may have assumed that the CBD product would not result in a positive test or lead to any sort of impairment. The burden would then be on the employee to prove that they did not ingest THC, and you would need to consider how to respond to such a positive test on a case-by-case basis. Use at the workplace. Because the FDA does not regulate CBD products other than Epidiolex, an employee has no guarantee that their supposedly pure CBD products does not contain THC. You should educate employees about this problem and explain that if they advise you to advance that they are using a CBD product that is not supposed to impair them or create a safety threat, you will have to take action if they later test positive for THC. Generally, it takes more of a food or drink containing THC to impair an employee or to result in a positive test, but there are no guarantees. Similarly, CBD cream oils and cosmetics containing THC would be less likely to result in a positive test result. The research of these products may be too sparse for the employee to risk their employment. 5 important takeaways from this article. While CBD itself should not contain amounts of THC to test positive, the CBD supplements used by your worker may actually contain THC, which does impair workers and would violate most drug and alcohol policies. Individually evaluate each situation of CBD use that comes to your attention. Discuss with your testing provider whether CBD will show up under the drug panel test if no THC is present. Consult with your labor and employment counsel if you end up considering taking or not taking action against the employee or applicant because of CBD use. In your drug education efforts, explain to employees that almost all CBD products are not regulated by the FDA, and they have no meaningful guarantee of what's in the supplement. In other words, those using CBD products need to know they are using them at their own risk. If THC turns out to be present, they will violate the employer policies. Under the Department of Transportation mandated interpretation, a positive test for THC will not be excused by the fact that the product was a CBD product or described as medical cannabis. Finally, 3 states' courts have held that their state's medical cannabis laws require an employer to engage in the accommodation analysis of whether the medical cannabis user should be accommodated. It's not clear how CBD products used would be treated. You should consult with your employment attorney before taking action in these locations. So there's article number 1. Here's article number 2. Will using CBD compromise employee performance in any way? To answer this, we run the question whether the CBD is 100% pure, which is defined as containing less than 0.3% of THC. If a product contains pure CBD, there should not be an employee performance issue. The challenge is that the vast majority of CBD products are not pure. Up to 70% of CBD products are mislabeled, according to a recent Journal of the American Medical Association study, which 84 different CBD products were analyzed. THC was present in 18 products in the varying amounts, which I just read on the last article, but I thought it's important to read it again. So, are there any circumstances or occupations in which CBD should never be used by employees? If the product used by the employee meets CBD purity standards, there should be no physical or mental impairment. The real issue is purity. How long will CBD stay in a person's system? It depends on the individual. For some, CBD oil will remain in the system for 2 to 5 days. For others, it can take weeks to resolve. The typical time around is 1 to 2 weeks. If CBD is legal, Why are the workers using CBD infused products and failing drug tests? Once again, the challenge with CBD at the workplace is that either knowingly or unknowingly, people are using CBD tainted with THC. So people might be buying a product with CBD to help them sleep, and that product also contains THC. It may be that THC that is impacting their sleep instead of the CBD. What can be done to ensure CBD-infused products are pure and don't contain THC? Currently, no governing or regulatory body is tasked with ensuring the purity of CBD. The oversight just isn't there to ensure when people are buying a CBD product, they are getting pure CBD oil. For workers and employees to be adequately protected, this situation has to change. If an employee using a CBD or CBD-infused product fails a drug test, what then? Whose responsibility is it to determine if the employee has violated workplace policies? It's not the employer's responsibility to ensure the drugs don't show up on the employer's drug screen. The employer's role is to simply make sure the chain of custody is intact. If the individual has signed a documentation confirming that the sample provided is theirs and the sample was sealed in their presence, the employer should not be held liable. There is another issue, however. Due to the changing legality at the state level for recreational and medicinal cannabis, in states where cannabis is legal, a company may still be able to have a zero-tolerance policy. Please refer to your state-specific laws regarding recreational or medical cannabis use. And for companies subject to federal standards, cannabis is still a Schedule I drug under the U.S. Controlled Substances Act. It's in those states in which cannabis has been legalized recreationally that many employers look for guidance. What steps should employers be taking in regard to CBD? For employers with the stated drug policy, it makes sense to educate their workers about the risk of inherent CBD oil. If they don't feel comfortable providing that information firsthand, they should partner with a qualified third party who can provide it. The employer should never put itself in the position of contradicting an employee's physician. That way, if the employee is considered using CBD product, they can discuss the employer's drug testing program with the doctor. Should employers be concerned of the proliferation of CBD as a legal substance? It would be wise for employees to educate their workers on CBD. The ultimate responsibility, however, lies within the employee. It's up to every individual to know exactly what they're putting in their body and what may happen as a result. Okay, that came from workforce.com. So let's go to another one. CBD oil in the workplace, do's and don'ts. CBD has been on the market for a while now based on the 2018 federal legalization about hemp. It is not an illegal controlled substance. However, ingestion of CBD or CBD substances in the workplace can be risky. That's because one of the active compounds in CBD may flag you as a positive in the workplace drug and alcohol test. That means CBD usage may jeopardize your job. If your test results show a large amount of unregulated substances known as THC, employers are now grappling with the internal CBD oil usage in the workplace, while others also dealing with the rising legalization of such compounds for medicinal and therapeutic purposes. Since CBD is an improved cannabinoid for recreational medical purposes in states across the country, it is not clear how employers should deal with it in the workplace usage, knowing a possibility of positive tests with THC ingestion. What should employees do? Do's and do's. Always use therapeutic-grade CBD oil from a trustworthy source. Remember my episode, Snake Oil Salesman. Make sure you listen to that episode too. External usage of CBD products is considered very safe and will not show THC in your system. However, it is advised to consult your physician before consuming CBD-based products. Always communicate with your manager or supervisor about your CBD usage and therapeutic needs. Now, that's the one there where it's just like, man, if you do tell your employer and all of a sudden he's like, you're fired, kind of thing.
Totally.
You know, so it's like
totally bite you in the
do's
butt.
and you damned if you do and you damned if you don't.
Right.
Kind of thing. So I don't know, man. It's going to be up to you and how you do. So the don'ts. Do not buy CBD products from a third-party sellers on an online platform. Most of these products may contain contaminants and possibly THC. If you use CBD oil internally for therapeutic purposes, do not hesitate to communicate with your manager. Okay? So, I don't know. Should employers allow? While some reports pose significant concerns for employers in permitting CBD or CBD-based products in the workplace, there is no evidence that the external usage of these products will flag a positive drug test with THC. However, employees must not use CBD oil and products from untrustworthy sources because there is no guarantee about the safety, efficiency, and the content of the active compounds in these products. Employers may also consider educating employees about these concerns. Employees who want to use CBD for therapeutic or medicinal purpose must communicate with their employers clearly. Based on their medical needs, employees may need to work with their managers to develop a plan to avoid any possible legal and safety consequences at the workplace. So, some more of the same stuff from last time. That came from Aximum Medical. Let's go to the next one, USA Today. Now, this was an article about another woman who was a bus driver, and she was using CBD products. So, let's go into this. CBD has been showing up widely array of goods. We know that, but your job could be in jeopardy if one of those products, which are largely unregulated, contains THC. Employers are now grappling with CBD used by their employees while also dealing with the rising legalization of recreational and medical cannabis in states. So, Janet Haley's a 58-year-old former school bus driver in Salt Lake County, Utah, in one of those cases. When was this article? This was published in January 21st of 2020. So Janet Hale's 58. She was told that a random drug test she had taken for her employer, the Jordan School District, came back positive. I knew right away what was going to happen, says Hales, who had not been using cannabis but taking CBD to help her sleep and relieve stress. 5 days later, they called me and they gave me the option to be fired or to resign. She decided to quit. Fucked up, right? Mm-hmm. The school district did not respond to the request for comment. In some cases, it's costing employees, good employees, and it's creating conflict because you can imagine the reaction of someone who is saying, well, I actually abided by the rules, says Howard Medvidi, a partner with the Fisher Phillips law firm. Farm Bill spurs big business. So this is all about the Farm Bill from 2018 with THC in the plan have to be 0.3%. Sales of hemp-derived CBD products soared after the legalization passage, as we know. So a certain amount of THC is allowed in CBD products as long as it doesn't exceed the limits by the federal or state law. But it could still trigger positive results on a drug test, which an employer may say is unacceptable. Some products may also claim to be THC-free, but inadvertently contain it. Somebody may test positive, says Barry Sample, the Senior Director of Science and Technology for the Drug Testing Laboratory. It's not the CBD itself it's the problem. It's the contamination with THC that may be present, which we've talked about. So there's no way to differentiate between THC and CBD oil and THC and cannabis, says Mielek, who added that many officers have turned to CBD products as an alternative to pain medications. But with federal agencies having zero tolerance for positive drug test results, the agencies can't afford to play a guessing game. The issue has drawn the attention of the FDA. In addition to safety risks and unproven claims, the quality of many CBD products may also be in question, says the agency. Many were found to contain high levels of CBD or low levels of CBD. We are also investigating reports of CBD potentially containing unsafe levels of contaminants. So Hales, who drove a school bus for 11 years, did her homework before starting to use CBD. Though the product did not say it contained THC on the label, she went to the brand's website and learned it contained 0.1% of that compound, which she says was below the level permitted by the state. And while the CBD was never mentioned in the required drug and alcohol awareness classes that she and the colleagues took, Hales says she checked with her trainer who told her that using CBD products would not cause her to fail the drug test. A clerk at the store where she purchased the capsules also told Hales that the company that made them tested its own employees after they used the product. None of the results came back positive. I really thought I chose a safe product for me for urine testing, Hales says. Remember that on the day she lost her job, the human resources officials she dealt with spoke to me like I was a drug addict. She will be cautious in the future as she searches for a new job. I know the value of CBD, and it did for me exactly what I needed to do, says Hales, but since she lost her job, I haven't touched it, and if I ever use it again, it will only be after I secured employment with that doesn't care about the urine test. So, one more. Can an employee be fired or refused employment for using CBD in the United States? This is a very long article. I'm only going to pick certain topics, but let's go into it a little bit. Laws and the interpretation regarding CBD and cannabis in the workplace are still emerging through statutes and case law across the United States. While there is a federal law protecting employees from discrimination based on their medical conditions and the resulted prescriptions, American with Disabilities Act, the ADA has not yet been interpreted federally as protecting cannabis-related prescriptions, partly because of the FDA has only ever approved 2 cannabis-related medications, and those are only available in treatment of serious conditions which could likely prohibit an employee from working in the safety-sensitive function. In the absence of such a ruling, each state is free to set their own laws through legalization and court decisions. Since every state is different, the answer whether an employee can be fired for CBD use will also vary from state to state and potentially from years to years, and laws change, research emerges, and products they are released. So, scenario 1, positive pre-employment test in the New York City or Nevada. Can employee be refused employment for testing positive for THC and pre-employment drug tests in Nevada and New York City? The easy answer would be no. If the employer were applying for a job in 2020 after each of these jurisdictions, cannabis non-discrimination laws take effect. Once in effect, along the employee was not part of the federal mandated program or the safety-sensitive positive as defined by either law. The employer cannot refuse to hire the employee based on the positive test for any cannabis compound, THC or non-psychoactive CBD. Typical and lawful use, that very narrow scenario aside, the next scenario is one in which the employee takes a common dose of hemp-derived CBD purchased from a legitimate dispensary and manufactured properly by an appropriately licensed facility. Employee informs the employer or tests positive. In the next scenario, the same employee admits to using CBD, or the employer tests positive for CBD and she fails the drug test. Can an employer fire or refuse to hire an employee because of the CBD use? Both cannabis and THC appear on the United States Drug Enforcement Agency Controlled Substance Schedule. However, the Drug Enforcement Agency Division Control Division clarified their stance on cannabis extracts after 2018 Farm Bill would effectively legalize industrial hemp. The bill redefined cannabis under the Controlled Substance Act to exclude hemp, defined as the cannabis and cannabis derivatives with the very low concentrations of no more than 0.3% of dry weight basis of THC. That means a validly processed CBD extract containing only traces amounts of THC is not illicit under federal law. Most states have enacted legalization, which bars employers from firing or refusing to hire an employee for his or her lawful activities outside of work. Therefore, an action firing an employee for the usage of illegal CBD outside of work hours and off-premise simply because the employer wrongfully believes CBD to be an illicit substance would likely fail if challenged in a wrongful termination suit. Note, however, that this kind of legislation worked against the medical cannabis using employees suing his employer over a wrongful termination in Colorado, where the recreational cannabis is legal. In Coates versus Dish Network, the Colorado Supreme Court held that the term lawful under the state statute meant lawful under federal or state law rather than just state law. Since the employee's use of cannabis was unlawful under federal law, the Colorado Supreme Court found that his employer was not violating the statute by firing him for unlawful activity, and therefore his wrongful termination case was dismissed. Get a very good lawyer. That lawyer made some mistakes there.
Yeah, big time.
So, the safety-sensitive employee admitting to CBD use. In this scenario, a safety-sensitive employee covered under federal regulation admits to CBD use. Can she be fired for using CBD? Since the employee is in a safety-sensitive position, arguments could be made for the employer that is a legitimate interest in disallowing the use of even CBD extract for its potentially endangering side effects such as drowsiness. Okay. If the employee in the scenario is a trucker, for example, the employer might argue that CBD products risk her falling asleep at the wheel and endangering the employee, the rig, the load, and the public at large. However, the employee could argue that the consensus of the courts and the legislator is that the employee should receive notice of any prohibited substances in advance of any adverse action against her. And drowsy side effects are present in hundreds of other over-the-counter medications and supplements. Many of which, I'm going to take a sip of water. Many of which, like most CBD products, do not have a label warning against the operation of heavy machinery. Until the FDA and the state agencies take more aggressive stances on CBD products, their labeling and warnings, the employee is likely to prevail in a wrongful termination. Gotta take another sip of water.
It's a big article.
A lot of
It's
stuff.
a big topic.
Paul, I love you. That's why I'm doing it. Likely to prevail in a wrongful termination suit if fired for simply admitting to the use of illegal CBD. The safety-sensitive employee testing for positive for THC after CBD use. In this scenario, a trained engineer uses legal CBD products on a daily basis to treat anxiety. but the consumer claim not evaluated by the FDA. As recommended by his physician, instead of a standard dose of CBD, which is about 120 to 160 milligrams a day, the engineer finds that 3 doses of 350 milligrams daily are appropriate to treat his condition, totaling 1,000 milligrams a day. If the CBD product contained the maximum legal concentration of 0.3%, the engineer would be ingesting 3 milligrams of THC a day. Remember that, everybody. The dosage matters. Span this consumption over a 30-day period, and he will have consumed 90 milligrams of THC. Yeah, you're done. You're pissing hot. So, THC can be stored in the body, including tissues, fat. We know this already. So let's see. Scenario 6. The innocent employee. A trouble scenario is the one where the employee takes CBD product and is unaware of the THC concentration exceeds the legal limit, like we've talked about before. So just be careful. Find reputable sources. What can employers do? Education. What can employees do? Make sure they're talking. Make sure they're finding out the rules and regulations for their state. Find 100% CBD products so you don't get popped and piss hot. So, Paula, I hope that helps your friend. Hope that helps you. Sorry, I was very long-winded. But I hope actually not only just helping our friend in Iowa and her friend, hopefully this helps people who are using CBD and listen to the show. We'll post these articles on our post, social media posts. So if you have any questions, I'm always happy to help out and find information for you folks. So hopefully I wasn't too long-winded. Mrs. Weedman?
Yeah.
Consumption with women.
Ladies.
Tell us about it. I'm taking a break. Mrs. Weedman's going twice.
Yeah,
I need
drink
a break.
some water. You need a break. Get a breath, Mr. Weedman. Smoke some weed.
I did.
Would you? Have some more. You got worked up over that.
Fighting for stopping that fucking stigma and fighting
That's
for
right.
the cannabis community out there every day.
That's right. So this is pretty cool. There is a January headset report showing that female cannabis consumers are on a continued rise in the U.S., increasing 55% from Q1 of 2020 to Q4 of 2021. This growing consumer demographic is even more robust in Canada, where both Gen Z and millennial females posted even higher sales than in the United States. In fact, female Canadian consumers contributed to 36.7% of cannabis spending in Q4 of 2021, 4.1% higher than in the U.S., showing cannabis sales rates to women are changing at a brisk rate. Within the female demographic, Headset's data shows that female baby boomers are outspending their Gen Z counterparts, with average transaction sizes bigger by 41% in Q4 2021. Female Gen Z sales saw an accelerated boom in 2020 at 151%. In terms of product category, women showed a strong preference for topicals, with nearly half of their cannabis expenditures occurring within this subset. Women also claimed a higher wallet share than males in the edibles category. Cannabis companies are sitting up and listening to this data and marketing their products accordingly in order to take advantage of the rising tide of female consumers. Women want safer, easier to use and conceal, and more regulated products. Petra's microdose THC mints and Rhythm's little black jars of evaporated bud led the charge back in 2021 and are experiencing both strong sales and widespread imitations for their efforts. Christy Palmer, the co-founder of Kiva Confections, celebrates this fortuitous turn in the market. She said, "Cannabis brands and companies are getting with the program and professionalizing in a way that welcomes women into the space. Thank God." This seems to be creating a feedback loop that serves both women and manufacturers, as new female-driven products are consumed at higher rates for bigger returns, and more women see themselves represented in what the cannabis industry has to offer. Another influencing factor in the growing number of women seeking out cannabis may be the fact that, according to a study published by the Journal of Women's Health, women are quicker than men to replace prescription painkillers with medicinal cannabis. Rising distrust in the pharmaceutical industry and its motivations for developing and promoting the products that it puts out, not to mention the steep rise in mental health concerns due to the pandemic, could very well be fueling the rise of the female consumer. which looks set to endure throughout 2020, 22, and beyond. So, and I have to say, there's a dispensary that I pass quite frequently when I'm driving around for work appointments, and I do really see like more and more women going in there. It's not just, well, you don't see the lines outside as much right now. For whatever reason, I think they're doing more curbside, right?
It's also cold.
And it's cold. But I've been seeing more women go. I'm like, great, good for them.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Awesome.
Because in the beginning, if you went to a dispensary, there were hardly women around.
Yep.
Both working and buying.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
So,
You're a candy fan, aren't you?
I'm a candy fan.
Tell us about some candy.
Yeah. So this next article is pretty cool. This is specifically talking about hard candy and differentiating that from other types of edibles. So there are 4 surprising benefits of cannabis hard candy. The cannabis industry is expected to be worth over $70 billion by 2028.
Damn.
I know. It has become more legalized throughout the United States in recent years, with 18 states legalizing recreational cannabis and another 13 decriminalizing it. More and more dispensaries are opening, and CBD products are available pretty much anywhere you shop. So there's a good chance you may be considering trying it out. There are many different ways to use cannabis, from smoking flower to eating edibles. A great first thing to try is cannabis hard candy. It has many benefits, and it is easy to consume. Let's learn about 4 benefits of eating cannabis hard candies. The first is that it is a healthier alternative to smoking. Eating cannabis candy is an excellent alternative to smoking. While smoking cannabis has many benefits for your brain and body, it can have a few adverse effects on your lungs. Ingesting cannabis has no proven negative, harmful effects comparable to smoking, so it's a healthier alternative, especially if you're using weed for medicinal reasons. 2, it offers quick pain relief. Eating cannabis-infused candy is not like eating just any edible. Because it's a hard candy, the oil will melt in your mouth, under your tongue. This helps the THC and CBD get into your bloodstream, allowing you to feel the effects quickly. If you suffer from chronic pain or inflammation, this is an excellent way to achieve quick, safe, and natural pain relief. That is also referred to as a sublingual dose, like a sublingual dose. So there's liquid, and that would be kind of the same as this. Like they also say when you're eating your gummies to like keep it in your mouth and chew it till there's like until there's nothing left, and then you're going to feel the effects better because it's dissolved into your bloodstream through your mouth, versus having like you take 2 bites and you gulp it down. It's got to break down in your stomach before it gets into your blood. So hard candies are more effective in getting fast.
Yeah, you ain't swallowing a lifesaver down like that. You know, you're going to suck on it until it's nothing.
Other edibles must go through the gastrointestinal tract before you feel the effects, which can take up to 2 hours. So if you suffer from chronic pain or inflammation, a safe, quick, and natural pain relief can come from cannabis candies. Number 3, it helps with insomnia. Eating cannabis candy will help your body and mind relax, especially if you choose an indica strain. If you suffer from sleep problems, eating a candy a half hour before you go to bed could help you, and it won't cause you to be drowsy when you wake up as a sleeping pill would. And 4, it's better for your stomach. You've probably experienced a stomachache after taking medication, such as inflammatory drugs or prescriptions for an illness or cold. This is extremely common, especially when medications are taken for more extended periods of time. Patients may start to see secondary effects such as inflammation of their stomach lining. There are no adverse effects of eating cannabis edibles daily, so you don't have to worry about hurting your stomach. Instead, it will make you feel good, and it also tastes good. So, are you ready to try cannabis hard candy? It seems that the benefits are endless, as are the benefits of other edibles. Just remember to check your dosage, and if you have questions, consult with your doctor.
Nice.
Yeah.
Hard candy.
Hard candy.
Yeah. It is. I mean, you look at it this way. When you're sucking on that, too, it's also going under your tongue. Mm-hmm. So you're getting it sublingually also, and just, I don't know, try a hard candy. I like hard. You love hard candy.
I noticed last week I called a cough drop a lozenge. I'm having a lozenge again. I do like them.
We talked about this article a few times. The The Michigan cannabis recall reversal. Its business to sell contaminated cannabis is another article. And I just wanted to let you know that there's more than 500 ounces of potentially contaminated cannabis, including some that tested positive for fungus that can lead to lung infections or death, was quietly returned to store shelves in Michigan late last year, an MLive investigation revealed. So remember, there was 64,000 pounds of cannabis back in November that was deemed potentially unsafe and taken off the shelves. Well, that much came back. Please be wary. Please be careful out there. Find a caregiver. And then Michigan renamed state marijuana regulatory agency Folds and Hemp. So they're now going to call it Cannabis Regulatory Agency and tasked it with regulating hemp distribution, processing, and sales along with existing cannabis oversight duties. Good for them, putting cannabis in that name. Kentucky Democrats filed bills to legalize cannabis. Good for you. Let's do this, Kentucky. LA County. As you know, what I've realized about all of California, not every city, you would think, because there's so many dispensaries in California, but every place would have something, and it's not. Most people who aren't familiar with California cannabis regulations are surprised to learn that legal cannabis is actually pretty rare throughout the state. Most cities and counties prohibit or severely restrict cannabis licensing. This includes most cities in the Los Angeles County, until recently the county itself. But that's all changing because LA County will allow cannabis in the near future. That's awesome. So you don't realize that because California is the number one market. There's so much going on, and then all of a sudden it's like, wow, I didn't realize LA County outside of certain areas in LA didn't have cannabis in it.
I didn't realize
a lot of it's unincorporated that's going to now start selling it too. So which is great. So, but it's just really weird.
I just thought there was no place in California that you couldn't find weed.
There's so many municipalities and the areas that do not sell and will not allow a license to. Oh. Yeah, I heard that a long time ago, but I didn't realize how much, and it's a lot. South Dakota lawmakers approved cannabis legalization and taxation bills in committee. Good for them. Get going on there. New York Senate okays bill to allow hemp farmers to grow adult use cannabis. That's awesome. Good for them.
I'm smoking some more.
Smoke it. Bill to create state-run cannabis shops in New Hampshire approved by House. Ew. Ew, ew, ew.
I missed that.
State-run cannabis shops in the state of New Hampshire.
Give me a break.
New Hampshire House of Representatives on Wednesday approved a bill to legalize cannabis throughout a state-run model, but pro-legalization advocates are sounding the alarm about the specifics of the proposal. They're not allowing home grow either with this new bill. They're just totally going to run the whole... I just don't think that's the right thing to do. State-run cannabis dispensaries. It's
unnecessary.
Unnecessary.
That's
Let the
all
people
comes
have
down
it.
to.
You guys didn't want it. It took the cannabis community to fight for it in every state. Don't forget that. Now you want to run the whole thing and ruin it? Ugh. Alabama senators approved cannabis decriminalization and expungence bill in the committee. Good for Alabama. D.C. mayor signs bill to let older patients get medical cannabis without doctors and create a 420 cannabis tax holiday. Good for
cute.
D.C. That's awesome. Wyoming House Speaker backs new bill to decriminalize cannabis. Good for you, Wyoming. Virginia Senate votes to start recreational cannabis sales this September through current medical dispensaries. Man, they're getting going fast. There was no wait until 2023. That's awesome. Governor's going to have to approve that, though. Governor. Arkansas cannabis grower retailers sue state over doctor visits rule. A medical cannabis cultivator and owners of dispensaries in Arkansas are suing the state over the rules to prevent recommendations without in-person visits to physicians. Patients not being allowed to receive recommendations for medical cannabis during the pandemic is likely causing growers and retailers in the state to miss out on potential sales and revenue. Good Day Farm... Hold on, I got to say something about that. It's all about the revenue, not about the patients. Good Day Farm, Arkansas, cultivator in Pine Bluff and Capital City Medicinals in Little Rock sued the Arkansas Health Department and its chief health secretary Jose Romero to invalidate the agency's rules. The Arkansas Democrat Gazette reported a law went into effect last July to create an exemption that would allow doctors to certify patients for the medical cannabis card via telemedicine, so they weren't allowing people to go online and just fill it all out. The law was expected to become permanent because of the coronavirus pandemic. However, the suit claims the health department has not implemented the law and instead is prohibiting the use of telemedicine to issue certifications for MMJ patients. So, come on, Arkansas. All right. We like terpenes, don't we?
We do.
Terpity terps.
Terpity terp.
Terps everywhere. It's all about them terps. Gives you a lot of stuff. Gives you flavor, gives you smell. It helps your body out.
Yep.
Tell us about terps. Terpety terps.
Well, this is a pretty loaded article, and I decided to smoke more weed. So let's see how I do here. I had to kind of redo this article a little bit to
Very
make
sciencey.
It's sciencey, and it's a lot of technical terms, and I'm like, oh, we're going to lose people in this one. So bear with me.
Yeah, but
I think I made sense of it all.
I think you did a great job.
I narrowed it down.
You read it to me.
We'll see. So,
talk about them terps.
Do terpenes in edibles have any effect? How do these 6 terps metabolize? So again, terpenes have a lot to do with your, what is it called? Your olfactory, your smell, your sniffer, right? Ahimana. Yeah. So the question is, you get them when you smoke, because they come through scent and your taste buds and things. But when you are an edible,
they also burn at certain,
and they burn at a certain level.
Yes.
But when you consume them and ingest them, they're not heated and you're not smelling them. I don't know. So this article is going to tell you.
Actually helped me out understand it more.
Because they're trying to find out if terpenes, like, not necessarily if. I think there is not a question anymore if they do something. They do serve a purpose, but they're trying to start to research what purpose they serve when they're consumed. So
ingested versus smoked or sniffed, right?
Yep. The great entourage theory, or is it more of an ensemble effect? Regardless, terpenes, the lightly aromatic and oftentimes smelly oils, can alter the effects of cannabis. And each strain's ensemble of ingredients produces its own unique experience. Little discussed, however, is the fact that some terpenes are only active through olfactory neurons.
There you
olfactory
go.
neurons.
Olfactory.
Old factory.
Old.
Olfactory. This means that those terpenes might not have the same effect in an edible. When smoked, THCA converts into active delta-9 THC. From there, it is absorbed into the bloodstream. As many have found out, active tetrahydrocannabinol, THC, is technically an intoxicating cannabinoid. THC has a different effect when eaten compared to smoked or vaped. For the most part, enzymes in the liver convert delta-8 or delta-9 THC into another isomer known as 11-hydroxyl THC. So, terpenes and metabolism. In comparison, research has slowly advanced and identified a few metabolites produced during the digestion of terpenes in humans. Hiroshima University in Japan researched the metabolic conversion of terpenes in rabbits in 1979.
Man,
a long time ago.
Huh? Yeah.
Yep. The metabolic processes that plants utilize to produce terpenes were then characterized in depth by 1995. So we've known about them. More recently, though, some of the metabolic byproducts that are created when humans digest those terpenes have been identified as well. 3 terpenes were separately studied by Lucas Schmidt and Thomas Gohn, a pair of researchers in Germany. So the first one is D3-carine. Schmidt and Gohn first studied 3-carine.
Did you just say shit and going?
Schmidt and Gohn.
Oh, I thought you said shit and I'm going.
Get out of here. Get it. CRN. All right, terpene CRN, which is a minor terpene found in cannabis. Small amounts of a carboxylated variation of delta-3 CRN, known as chiminic acid, were found after human digestion. So that made it all the way through digestion, right? That terpene. Then we have number 2, which is alpha-pinene. Alpha-pinene is oxidized in the gut, which produces myrtenol, or myrtenic acid, and 2 isomers of verbinol. The later, verbinol, at least, can account for some biological effects, according to current research. That doesn't even make sense to me. just know that terpene is alpha-pinene. Mm-hmm.
We've talked about alpha-pinene before.
Then we've got 3, which is R-limonene. Limonene degrades into carvone, but it further converts into a few noteworthy compounds during digestion, known to fight against tumors, according to early research. LMN, or limonene, 8,9-diol, so limonene 8,9-diol, is the most abundant metabolite of R-limonene, or LMN, in humans, followed by relatively small quantities of a second isomer. Receptors in our brain and throughout our body receive cannabinoids, whereas different receptors found in the nasal cavity and the gut, for example, respond to at least one terpene, and that's linalool. So linalool is the fourth terpene that we're talking about, and it has anti-anxiety properties. They might not be as prominent when taken orally compared to the smell of the terpene, though. A specific type of receptor is blamed. Looking at the full picture, though, a multitude of factors alter linalool's effects based on consumption method. First, the effect depends on olfactory neurons, a type of receptor present in the nasal cavity, mouth, and gut. In one study, linalool did not induce GABA-A, which is the same receptor that benzodiazepine drugs target, facilitating relaxation. A later study noted that linalool does induce relaxation through GABA-A, but it depends on olfactory neurons. So linalool might affect anxiety via edibles if enough of the terpene can make its way into the stomach. Interesting. Adding to that challenge in metabolism and digestion. Linalool converts into 3 different terpenes as it passes through the esophagus.
Damn,
That's
I didn't know
crazy.
that until I read this article.
Yeah. Beyond this, metabolism subjects linalool to several different alterations. That said, only oxygen atoms can turn the floral terpene into 8-OXO-linolyl acetate, the sole metabolite that facilitates anxiety through GABA-A. Wow. So that terpene can make you anxious then when it breaks down is what they're saying, right? Maybe not. I don't know. This is promising since linalool might inhibit seizures and epileptic episodes without affecting mood by simple natural processing. Wow. So those 4 terpenes that I just talked about are in a group of unique molecules known as monoterpenes. Monoterpenes are one family of molecules, and they become transient under certain conditions. Number 5 terpene is myrcene, and myrcene is also part of the monoterpene family. Beta-myrcene is an important precursor molecule for other terpenes like linalool and citronella. During digestion, oxidation turns myrcene into 4 different molecules, 2 diols and 2 hydroxyl acids. Okay, if you say so. Okay. Now we're going to get into the 6th terpene, the final terpene, and this is called a sesquiterpene, or a heavier terpene that is more common in edibles, because lighter monoterpenes, so this is a sesquiterpene, the other 5 are monoterpenes, right?
I'm glad you said that word because I would have butchered the shit out of that.
So monoterpenes boil away during processing, but B-caryophyllene is not only the primary sesquiterpene found in cannabis, it also directly activates an acutely therapeutic cannabinoid receptor. So very important, right? So it's a heavier one, sticks around, it looks like, through processing.
Sticks to the gut.
Yep. And it activates your cannabinoids. So, pretty neat. And it'll be, how many terpenes are there? 120 or something like that?
Yeah.
So, obviously, the research has hardly even happened. There's going to be more to come. And we'll learn more about their benefits. And, there's even people who are now, scientifically creating just terpenes, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, as like a supplement.
Oh, yeah.
So there's a whole world of terpenes.
So basically they're saying is it less effective it's eaten, more effective is it's smoked.
Well, or
because they got to be burned at a certain temperature.
Right, and what they're trying to do is prove that there is a benefit when they're consumed, when they go through your digestive tract. But what is the benefit, and do they change?
Gotcha.
That kind of thing.
More research.
More.
We need that. We need it to go federally legal so we can get all this stuff taken care of so we know what we're putting in our body. International news, though. The Malaysia contradiction: legal medical cannabis and the death penalty. Do you realize that it's kind of Malaysia has some super conflicting drug laws now allowing legal medical cannabis, but also instituting the death penalty for not that big crimes, meaning perhaps future updates will smooth everything over. But they're saying that if you hold so much, like 20 grams can get you 3 to 9 lashes.
Jeez.
Or like almost $5,000 in fines and up to 5 years in prison.
They still spank people there?
The lashes.
Lashes. Like a whip.
Like a whip it good.
Wow.
Yeah. Having 20 to 50 grams
Just get it over
incur
with,
a prison sentence of 2 to 5 years. Yeah, I'd take the 3. But
Well, give me a whipping.
You'd get 2 to 5 years as well as 3 to 9 lashes.
Oh, come on.
You get both.
You should
So you won't be sitting fucking anywhere for a while in prison.
come on, public lashings should easily count for a year.
Yeah.
Each one. Whoopsh.
So
What's
it's
1
weird.
year?
If a person's caught with 200 grams of
Weird.
cannabis or more, it's automatically considered trafficking, and trafficking comes with a death sentence.
What?
Yep. So it's medically legal.
Where is this?
Malaysia.
Whoa.
Yeah, I know.
That's intense.
Yeah, it's crazy. So come on, Malaysia, man. That's just fucked up for weed. Man, lashes, death penalty. What the hell? Top Italian court blocks cannabis and psilocybin referendum from going before voters. Fucking Italy, man. A top Italian court on Tuesday blocked voters from being able to decide on the referendum to legalize cannabis in the country, despite the fact that activists turned in hundreds of thousands of signatures that were validated by a separate court last month. They turned in 630,000 signatures for this measure. And now the court announced last month that they were valid enough for the ballot placement, but the referendum still need to be reviewed by the separate constitutional court, which is tasked with determining the legality of the proposal's provisions. So on last Wednesday, the Constitutional Court announced that the Cannabis and Psilocybin Initiative did not meet constitutional standards and therefore will not be placed on the ballot for voters to decide. It was also rejected a separate measure related to the right to I can't pronounce that word right now. EUTHANASIA.
Euthanasia?
Thank you. So Italy. Come on, man. Come on. Israel announces new cannabis decriminalization plans. Good for them. They're going to start working on that. They got to do a lot of testing there and a lot of stuff. They found a lot of stuff with cannabis in Israel. So plunging cannabis prices adds fuel to the efforts to lower tax rate for Canadian producers. Tax rate in Canada is really high, and prices right now in Canada are going down. So people in the cannabis industry are calling for the Canadian government to lower taxes for cannabis producers and amid falling prices of cannabis products and rising costs for business. So calls to reform the tax come as an average selling price per gram of cannabis crashed 26% over the last 13 months, according to the fresh data from New York-based investment bank Jefferies Group and Seattle-based data analytics firm Headset. The federal government's excise duty on dried cannabis flower is either $1 Canadian or 75 cents per gram or 10% of the value of the gram, whichever is greater. However, increased competition has resulted in the minimum taxation threshold expanding with well beyond 10% of producers' revenues, the business chamber said. Oof. Creating they need to just fix it. I mean, come on, man. How much you got to tax? So the biggest declines we're seeing in concentrates, 35% decline, vape pens, 35% decline, capsules, a 20% decline, pre-rolls, a 19% decline, and flower, 16% decline. Outside of legalization, average wholesale prices of cannabis was $8 Canadian, $8 per gram, Sutton said in a phone interview. Most of us built our financial model not assuming that would persist, but I don't think anyone could have predicted the outset that today would be below $5 per gram wholesale. Sutton is a public face of the Stand for Craft campaign, which is seeking to end a flat minimum per gram tax. Good for him. Sutton, who is also a CEO of BC-based cannabis producer, wants to see licensed producers pay a percentage-based per gram levy. He said that the current system gives the advantages to large producers and disadvantages to small ones. It's my position that right now the excise burden unfairly falls on those small businesses to a larger degree in a way that inhibits their survivability than their large, publicly traded, well-heeled counterparts, Sutton said. It's a function of economic scale. If it's cheaper for large organizations to be able to produce, I think that needs to be represented in a taxation structure. These are two completely different businesses, and they should be treated as two completely different entities in the way we tax them, he said. The Stand for Craft proposal, which is separate from the BC Chamber proposal, calls on the government to apply percentage-based cap excise based on different tax tiers for micro cultivators, craft-scale standard growers, small to medium cultivation enterprises, and large cultivators. I think it's against the nature of the desire and aspirations of Canadian legalization to have perhaps to build a tax structure that is punitive to small enterprises or disproportionately punitive to small enterprises, he said. Man. So hopefully they can fix it, right? Mm-hmm. I hope so. Come on, man. I worked in the bar restaurant industry for a very long time, and I had to go in the back room to smoke my oney all the time. What if bars and restaurants can
That'd be fantastic.
Can sell some weed? Yeah.
We talk about this a lot. Like, why can't there just be places to smoke weed? Right? There should be. So this article is about how bars and restaurants should be allowed. If they can sell alcohol, they should be allowed to serve cannabis. Adult use cannabis legalization in the United States is rapidly nearing passage in a majority of states. In 2021, 18 states, including Missouri, considered such proposals. At the federal level, pressure is building in both Republican and Democratic factions in Congress, with U.S. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer demanding passage of the comprehensive marijuana legislation, and Republican Nancy Mace proposing a passage of a proposal with priority given to marijuana offender release and expungement, as well as low taxation and regulatory barriers to market entry. In most states, however, legal cannabis licensing has seen significant restrictions, both in terms of numerical caps on licenses allowed, as well as high barriers to submitting applications. These conditions have led to widespread controversy in dozens of states, as ordinary entrepreneurs have largely been locked out of owning legal cannabis businesses by large, multi-state operators seeking to create monopoly access to market share. This is an unfair and unjust situation, both from the perspective of entrepreneurs, particularly minorities, who want to innovate in legal cannabis businesses, but also in terms of existing industries who could create further opportunity in a variety of fields. Hospitality operators in particular, that is bar, restaurant, entertainment, and lodging operators, should see these opportunities. In the state of Missouri, for instance, there are more than 16,000 state-licensed liquor businesses. All of these operators sell and manage a more hazardous drug, alcohol, and comply with regulations on only selling to adults over 21 and collect sales tax for our state. Many of them, particularly convenience stores, also sell cannabis products, including CBD and Delta-8 THC smokable flower. But because of both the specific and illogical prohibition on cannabis with Delta-9 THC, legally defined as marijuana, hospitality operators, along with entrepreneurs generally, are shut out of these opportunities. As the state of Missouri considers the legalization of adult use cannabis, attention should be paid to creating opportunities for one of our largest and most culturally vibrant economic sectors. Bar owners and restaurateurs should be able to offer products infused with Delta-9 THC. Operators who have entertainment, lounge spaces, or lodging should be able to offer safe and legal consumption areas. Moreover, by maximizing the space of legal cannabis sale, possession, and consumption, we can create more opportunities for consumers to choose a safer drug over more dangerous drugs, particularly opiates. In the midst of an overdose crisis where both alcohol abuse and opiate abuse are contributing to historic levels of deaths, this harm reduction strategy should be seen as more than just an economic opportunity, but more of a moral imperative. The Missouri General Assembly will consider such proposals in early 2022. It should be a priority of Missouri hospitality operators and employees to preserve their state representatives and senators. To pressure their state representatives and senators to deliver such a proposal to Governor Mike Parson's desk. So I agree with all of that.
Yeah, me
100%.
Too. I think it should be cannabis consumption lounges. I think they should be able to. I think bars and restaurants, if you're selling alcohol, which is a mind-altering experience,
much more dangerous.
Much more dangerous. So I don't know, man. We gotta get the shit together here.
Good luck, Missouri.
Yeah, good luck. But I think the United States needs to look
In
at
general,
that. And all
needs
states
to-
need to
right.
look at that 100%.
Yep.
So that's the end of the show, Ms. Weedman.
It is? Already?
Yeah, already.
That went fast.
It did go fast. Hey, everybody out in the world. We love you. Mrs. Weedman, do you got anything else to say?
I got nothing.
Nothing?
Nothing.
Nothing at all? Well, we love you all out there. Hopefully that CBD talk helped everybody understand it in your states and your laws. Mrs. Weedman going for like
I'm
the sixth or
smoking
seventh.
again.
Yeah,
I
love
like
it.
this stuff.
You do love that GG4. I love it. Shit. Everybody smoke some big fat doinks. Don't forget to check us out on Weedman 420 Chronicles on Instagram. Weedman 420 Pod on Twitter. Say hello to Dive Boy. Weedman 420 Chronicles on TikTok. Send me an email. Weedman420chronicles@gmail.com. YouTube channel. Weedman 420 Chronicles space. Oh, wait. I said that wrong. Weedman 420 space Chronicles. So confusing. So confusing. So anyway, everybody out in the world, as Paulie always says, smoke smart. Puff, puffing away.
Puff, puff, pass.